My name is Dee Davey. I'm a board member with Michigan Fair Elections Institute. Patrice has asked me to fill in as the MC for News at Noon today. Patrice is on the call, but she has a rather raspy, croaky voice. So she thought it might be easier if somebody led the meeting in her place. On the schedule, we do have Patrice giving an update on our usurpation case. Christlieb will be doing a communications team update. J.D. Small on biblical citizenship coming to a location near you. Paul Opsommer will be joining us today with an update on what's going on in the Michigan Senate. Jacky has some exciting news about new chapters, and Mark Smith in Benzie County will be following on to reiterate the kind of exciting things that are happening within the chapter models. And Ron Armstrong will be joining us with some important messaging. So I'll kick off with Patrice's update. Just as a reminder, Michigan Fair Elections Institute initiated a legal litigation on behalf of our 11 legislators whose authority to determine the time and place of elections was usurped by Prop 3 in 2018 and Prop 2 in 2020. That has been an ongoing process, and we are not surprised that it's taken this long and the steps that it's gone through, because we know that once you present a litigation case, there will be challenges, co-challenges, re-challenges, appeals, and re-appeals. We are currently in the position where this case is now poised to go to the Supreme Court. And Patrice has given us an update that MFEI PIME will be filing a petition of Jeff, fill in the word, Certiorari, I'm going to have to learn my
that's close.
for them to hear the case. So this is really positive news and good news going forward. Patrice, remind me, do we also need other jurisdictions within the states to provide amicus briefs in support of this? And if you could just indicate that in a chat for me, that's my understanding, is that the more amicus briefs friends of the court requests for a hearing, the more likely that we are getting to the point of the Supreme Court hearing the case. And Jeff, you say we are talking about the U.S. Supreme Court.
Correct.
Jeff, okay. Sorry if I didn't make that clear. My apologies, but thanks for that clarification. And yeah, okay. So just to clarify, yes, any organizational briefs would be much appreciated. Patrice writes, I'll be happy to send interested parties the claim that we have. So we're asking for any other organizations to support this cause with an amicus brief. We have the template, which Patrice can send. So if you know of any other organizations or states who might become involved, please contact Patrice with an acknowledgement of support. Do we have Christlieb on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. Would you like to give us your update, please, Kristine? You're doing a fabulous job with leading and guiding and mentoring our communications team, and they're doing such wonderful work. Please give us an update.
Oh, I'm happy to. So the communications team is for the first time, and since it's launching,
Inception.
we are looking at updating the MFE website. We're starting with MFE first. So in the next, I'm not sure exactly what the timeline is, but soon everyone will be seeing some changes to the MFE website. And just so you'll know, one of the things that we want to do, of course, we're happy to prompt people and notify them when we're posting a new story. But a lot of time, what we're moving toward is getting people to go directly to the website and watching for updated news stories. Because now, currently, we're only publishing like one story per day. There are times when we need to publish more than one story a day. And so when we update the website, we'll be able to do that. So I would say that's a major thing. Then the other thing I want to mention is that on Monday, we will be giving the very first Sunlight Award to Livingston County Clerk, Elizabeth Hundley. And we're giving her that award because she is one of 18 county clerks who responded quickly and responsively to a FOIA request for election data. So we've created what we're calling the Sunlight Award, and we're presenting that award to the Livingston County Clerk, and then we're also presenting it to the other 17 counties who had that top ranking, and the top ranking required them to respond within less than or within 5 business days of the FOIA request. They were willing to provide the data, and they provided the data without charge. So there were 18 counties that fell within that category, and Michigan Fair Elections Institute is going to be honoring them with a Sunshine Award. So that's pretty much my update for today, Dee.
Thank you, Kristine. And just a little bit of background for attendees on the call who haven't been following this. We within Michigan Fair Elections Institute are with us and through our partners have continually submitted FOIAs to help the transparency of what is going on in our elections. And we have sought various channels to get the data so that we can look at our election integrity data. And we found a challenge in obtaining information from a particular channel. So we reached out to the 85 counties in Michigan and asked clerks for their QVF data. And this is what Kristine is referring to, the response rate. When we reached out to those 83 counties, the team created a tracking mechanism for determining who responded, how quickly they responded, did they charge us, did they not respond, and therefore Livingston came up as our top investor in helping transparency. And there are 17 others who we want to honor as well. I hope, Kristine, did I summarize that well enough?
Yes, I mean, Livingston didn't come out on the very top. Actually, that was a different county, but it was one of the 18, and we had a county commissioner from Livingston County who reached out to us and was very excited about his county receiving the award. And so that's why we are, and invited us to present it at a commissioner's meeting on Monday. And so that's kind of how all of this came about.
Thank you for that clarification.
No, I appreciate your clarification, Dee. Thank you for giving that background. Yeah.
Okay, so next on our agenda, we have JD Small coming up. If you would like to unmute your mic, JD, and tell us a little bit about what you've been working on for a very long time, and you're looking to expand your efforts and initiative on the biblical citizenship front. So JD, over to you.
Thank you. Recently we've heard several rogue judges make comments about things President Trump is doing that they're saying is violating the Constitution. The problem is with that, most people in the United States have no idea that they're telling complete lies and that President Trump is doing everything within the Constitution. That is why it is so important for us to study, learn, and teach the principles that are in the Constitution. The information we'll be learning is from actual notes taken by several of the founding fathers during the discussion, the writing, and the signing of the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. It is important for us to learn and teach these principles to help people to understand what is in these documents and what the original intent was. Our Michigan Education Association seems to be working diligently to prevent us from finding out anything about the Constitution, at least as I remember my civics class. The program is free. When you register, you get an access to a digital workbook, which is also free. If you want to get a hard copy workbook, they're available at the class for $20. But that's not required. That is only if you're interested in a hard copy. If you're unable to attend all 8 classes, fit whatever you can in, because each class is independent and the information is amazing. In the end, we will actually tell you how to proceed and actions that you can take to help educate our communities about biblical citizenship and the Constitution. So I'm going to put a link in the chat so you can just click on the link and go to register. If you have any questions, you can call me and I will add my phone number to this in the chat. Anybody have any questions?
JD, I have a question. Are these meetings in-person only meetings, or are these meetings currently or in the future going to be geared up to be virtual meetings?
Rick Green has virtual meetings. I do personal meetings. So my meetings, the ones that I have, are personal, but Rick Green does have virtual meetings. So,
would you be able to put Rick Green's contact information in the chat for us, for
sure.
people for people who either can't host their own local meeting and invite one of the biblical citizenship leaders to speak or learn to deliver the presentation, but want to learn about the Constitution and can join virtually?
Yes, I'll take care of that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Of course, thank you.
So next on our schedule, we have Paul Opsommer. If Paul would like to prepare and unmute his phone. Paul, you have been involved in politics forever. You have a deep understanding and knowledge of how the Michigan legislature works. Please give us an update on what's happening in the Senate.
Well, thank you very, very much, Dee. It's great to be back on board. Patrice asked me to talk about the lawsuit going on between Winnie Brinks and Matt Hall. So give you kind of an overview, because Winnie Brinks sent a letter to Matt Hall on Monday of this week demanding he present the bills to the governor that are in question, or she would instigate further legal action against him. What's interesting, if we take just 1 minute and do some background,
Please.
throughout this entire process, nobody has ever explained why these bills were never presented. We still don't know. Matt Hall hasn't said anything. Joe Tate has not said anything. Nobody in the clerk's office has made a official explanation, so we don't know.
Paul,
Matt Hall's
Paul?
argument. Yes,
Paul,
ma'am.
May
Yes,
I,
ma'am.
May I interrupt just one moment to just do a little rewind? So as the lame duck, clarify my understanding if I get this wrong, but I just want to paint the broader picture. At the close of the lame duck session from January 3rd, the new Michigan legislators became the authority for making decisions. And there were 8 bills that did not get through to the new legislators or were not passed by the previous holding I don't know how
We
to
can
do this.
we can get into that, Dee, if you'd like.
Just
right now, as
ju-
I
just
explain
yes, just
the
to
argument.
put it in, just to put it in context, just a quick overview.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, what Matt Hall argued in court was that the business and second legislature, which ended on the 30th of December, and Joe Tate was the speaker, does not continue into the 103rd legislature. So anything that was supposed to have been done, like presenting these 9 bills to the governor, was the responsibility of the 102nd legislature. And if they didn't do it, it's not his responsibility to do that. He cites the Michigan Constitution that says a past or current legislator cannot bind a future legislature. So there's nothing Joe Tate or anyone else can do to bind and force Matt Hall to forward these bills in the new legislature starting in January. So that was Matt Hall's argument when Winnie Brinks sued the House and said you have to forward these bills or present them. Winnie Brinks's argument was the duty to present a bill to the governor is the duty of the entire legislature. And she quotes the Michigan Constitution that does say every bill passed by the legislature shall be presented to the governor, and that Matt Hall has an obligation to do that, whether Joe Tate did or not. And despite it being the new legislature, the 103rd, Winnie is arguing that Matt Hall still has that obligation. Both sides claimed victory, which this is the politics. That's why we call this as the world turns or something like that. If you're old, that's an old soap opera. The Judge Patel, in his ruling, cites that it is the duty and the expectation of the Senate constitutionally to expect that these bills will be presented to the governor. So he's basically saying that Winnie Brinks has a constitutional right to expect that Matt Hall will present these bills. So Winnie is saying that's victory. I won. You have to present them. However, in the same ruling, and this is something Patrice and I have talked about a lot, the judge also says that this court is reluctant to interfere with the process of how the House does its business. And he does not direct Matt Hall to present the bills. He leaves that question open. So Matt Hall is now claiming victory also. And both have done press releases saying they won. So on March 17th, Winnie Brinks wrote a letter to Matt Hall demanding that the bills be presented to the governor as quoted in the Michigan Constitution this week. And if not, Will you please present those bills to the Secretary of State, who then can present them to the governor? From what I've heard, Matt Hall has simply ignored that letter and has not presented the bills and has had no public comment other than he'll seek the advice of his attorneys. In Winnie Brinks's letter this week, she said if the bills are not presented, she will follow up with more legal action against the House and Matt Hall. So where we're at right now is both sides say they've won. And Winnie will follow up with another letter or another court appeal of some type in the near future. So that's where we're at, Dee. It gets funnier and crazier all the time.
So, Paul, moving forward, what are the possible scenarios of what might happen? This is speculation because we don't know how Winnie is going to react to Matt Hall's non-compliance with her threat letter. We don't know what other legal litigation might be taken, but from a process perspective, what are your thoughts on how
My
the
guess is
process
Matt
might?
Hall will not, under any circumstance, present the bills to the governor. He doesn't want another chamber telling him what to do and interfering with how the House does its business. That's too precedent setting. And to be frank with you, I don't think he'll present a bill ordered to by a court because he does have precedent of a court telling the Michigan House on how to operate and how to conduct its business. So I don't think he'll present the bills to the governor. And then the other question, a very good one and a fair one, is how far does push this whole issue and issue to maybe the Michigan Supreme Court?
So I think this is a really interesting case from a process and procedures perspective, because being a nonpartisan group, we need to understand how the system works, how our legislators work with one another within a judicial structure. So this is a very interesting case for us all to keep an eye on from an election integrity perspective, but more from a process and procedures perspective as to how our government works. So, Paul, thank you very much for that. And hopefully we can have you back on future News at Noon with an update. And who knows, that might be months from now, weeks or months.
Thank you. Thank
Okay, Jacky, if you would like to prepare your mic, I would love for you to share what's happening in the new chapters arena. You've got some really exciting things going on there and some, I don't know, new innovative ways of reaching out to our community. So Jacky, please, over to you.
Thank you, Dee. So I know that we made the announcement last week that there were chapters chartered. We now have added Benzie County to that. And I want to thank Mark Smith for being the leader's leader, so to speak, kind of a mentorship role over all of the chapter leaders throughout the state. We hosted a meeting yesterday as kind of a training and Q&A so that our chapter leaders can do launch parties. The goal being we want our chapters to host one county-wide meeting a month, open to the public with an educational focus. So a constitution class, a biblical citizenship class, a movie watch party, a ranked choice voting educational presentation, any of the above and more. And the point is to bring in people who are already on our volunteer list or on our subscriber list, but also general members of the public, and then use that as an opportunity to ask them to get involved as a volunteer and join one of our many projects that we're attempting to run. So I do want to thank Mark for taking the time to talk about how he has been able to lead his chapter to have weekly meetings, Pizza and Politics, and really grow his organization so that they have regular attendees week after week who are engaged and excited and enthusiastic. So I don't know if Mark is here, if he wants to say a few words about just being a leader's leader, chartering a chapter, or any input on why he thinks maybe having a chapter presence in the county is a benefit to MFEI as a whole and the individual leaders there.
Jacky, I'm right here. Yeah, I'd love to. Is this a good time, Dee?
This is perfect. That's
okay.
a perfect segue. Yeah, please.
I'll tell you what, I don't mind following Jacky's lead any place because her enthusiasm is infectious, as we talked yesterday. I tried to put on my video, but that's okay. In Benzie County, we're blessed because it's a very small county. We have maybe 16,000 voters, and we have already had a very active group working in the areas of the original Tim Vetter Check My Vote work. We've had people that have done poll work, poll training. We have a good relationship with our county clerks, but that was all done through face-to-face, slowly building our presence. We now meet on a weekly basis. We call it Pizza and Politics. Anybody's welcome. We advertise that on several social platforms, including Facebook, Telegram, plain old texting, and on a website. And out of that, it was fascinating to hear the gentleman talking about the biblical citizenship. We just finished our third week of the prequel to that, Constitution Alive. And we have two sessions, one 3 to 5, the other one 5 to 6 to 8 every Wednesday night. Those are phenomenally well attended, and just as timely as it can get. And we spent last week learning about the Constitution from 30,000 feet up. I'll share with you one thought from James Garfield, which I didn't know. Maybe you guys know your civics better, but he was quoted back at the founding of our Constitution. Now more than ever before, the people are responsible for the character of their Congress. If that body be ignorant, reckless, and corrupt, it is because the people tolerate ignorance, recklessness, and corruption. If it be intelligent, brave, and pure, it is because the people demand that these high qualities to represent them in the national legislature. Indeed, I think that goes right back to the work we're doing right now. First of all, the right to vote needs to be protected, and it needs to be fair and honest. And these groups are leading that effort. So we've been working hard on that. We agree. We think that's a valid effort. But secondly, all of this depends on an educated citizenry. And I thank Dee, I thank Patrice, I thank Jacky, all the volunteers that have taken the time and energy to help us get to where we are. So we consider Benzie almost the tip of the spear. We're a small petri dish of what's going on in the rest of the state and the rest of the country. But what we're learning here is, as it was once said, all of
Oh, Mark, I think you've dropped. I think your audio has dropped, Mark.
Yeah,
okay. You're back.
We had a massive snowstorm last night, so I know
Okay.
Michelle Stabnow's trying to get on, but no, we're moving forward. We're excited to work with Jacky on this new platform, and we're more than excited to help her grow this effort. We know that all it takes is for good people to do something, because if we don't, evil triumphs. And what you're doing, even if you think it's insignificant, it is not. The fact that you're taking time to be on this call says that you realize you need to be involved. So Benzie County, we're having a lot of fun. We welcome anybody to come up see us. We figured out how to do virtual meetings, so we can Zoom people in. But yeah, any questions, Dee? I know that's a rush job, but we're having a lot of fun up here.
You always have fun, Mark, you and your team. So just as an idea and a thought to help move the chapter model forward, you're currently doing Zoom meetings. Maybe if you do a train the trainer on how to do a Zoom meeting for other chapter leaders. Jacky, just throwing that out there as an idea.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yep. I know Jacky's way more savvy than I am on this stuff, but we have people within our county, our team, that are very good at it. Because I just saw that PDF somebody posted on Basecamp about ranked choice voting. And I think that will be an interesting, rich area for us to explore and push back against.
And if I may interject very quickly, part of the chapter model is having an educational outreach coordinator in either
Yep.
county. And the hope of the educational outreach coordinator position is to have a point person who can take that ranked choice voting presentation to local community groups. So this is just an opportunity for those chapters. We had 14 leaders come on yesterday to the call, which is wonderful. I love to see 14 people step up and take on that role. But I know that there is a need for educational outreach. So if you are interested in giving those ranked choice voting presentations to local community groups, the community groups are excited to hear you. We just need somebody to step up and take that on. So please, you can put the message in the chat, or you can always email me. It's Jacky@mifairelections.org. And that way we can get you set up in an educational outreach position so we can start telling the public about the dangers of ranked choice voting.
Oh, Jackie, I think that's perfect. We're more than happy to be a guinea pig. I know Jennifer Brogley is a phenomenal, she's retired, but she's a phenomenal presenter. I'll get to you offline, but I'd love to do that with some of our local groups. Yeah, that's spectacular. Even our neighboring counties, Muskegon, Grand Traverse, we work well with those guys. We could start there too. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Mark, for the update and
Oh, you bet.
all that you're doing and your leadership, and Jacky for taking on the new chapter model and rolling that out. Jacky, while we've got you on and unmuted, do you want to give a plug for the event that you will be speaking at this Saturday in Macomb?
Yes, for those who are local to Macomb, honestly, if you're in Wayne, St. Clair, or Oakland, or any of the neighboring counties, please come out Saturday. Citizens for Traditional Values is hosting a class, and I will be doing a brief presentation about ranked choice voting included in that, but also talking about MFEI and all that we do and all the help that we need and the good work we've done and the good work we're going to continue to do. And I believe I had the address pulled up, but I'm on my phone right now. I want to say, is Eileen on the call? Eileen or McNeil, are you here? It's okay if she's not, but it's going to be on Saturday. It's a couple of hours. I will go ahead and post all of the information in the chat just so people who want to attend have it readily available. Okay.
Thank you, Jacky. And next on our lineup, we have Ron Armstrong joining us. Ron, we haven't heard from you at News at Noon for a while. You are always one of our treasured and welcomed guests. So if you would like to unmute and join us and give us your update, we would love to hear from you.
You can hear me?
We can.
Perfect. Great to be with you. I had a couple of topics that I wanted to share with you. One is titled Staying on Task and Message and the Importance of Avoiding Distractions. I think that's in starting with that. The second one is we are winning. Executive orders are fantastic. There have been 90 of those so far from President Trump, but it is really vital that we get legislation to basically codify those executive orders, or they will be replaced with a stroke of a pen with the next president. We've already seen this happen. In 2020, as you recall, President Trump had left the World Health Organization. He had left the Paris Climate Accord. There were a lot of executive orders he had signed. However, none of those had passed through the legislature. And as we moved into 2021, Biden and his team was ready to go. They basically, with a stroke of a pen, returned us to all of those crazy mandates. And a lot of the things we've experienced, both personally and business, were because, again, we just assumed, I guess, that they were just going to stay. And that's just not the case. So it is really important that we continue to put pressure on our local congressional leadership. And we are working, I'm working personally with many of the House leaders and in the Senate as well, in making sure that both in reconciliation and otherwise that we pass legislation. The SAVE Act is an important one. I know that's certainly vital to everything we talk about here. When we say SAVE Act, should be SAVE Act Plus. There should be additional things that the federal government needs to do to help us with the process of basically returning our election process. You know, the courts, we are seeing the weaponization of the judicial system. First, it was against the president as an individual. It certainly has been, again, against every one of us. We saw where the courts did not come and follow the laws, the Constitution, and there was no accountability regarding both 2020 and 2022 elections. We see that the courts are really a rogue action group right now in many ways. I just heard a statistic today that 70% of all of the injunctions that have been put in by federal judges in this entire century were done by 92% democratically elected or appointed federal judges. Now, that alone tells you everything you need to know about where we are. The courts are not going to save us. It is going to be important, obviously, at a state level that we get our Supreme Court in order, and in Michigan, we do not. But it is important for us to continue to push for the legislation on election integrity issues, World Health Organization issues, obviously illegal immigration, all the things that we are so excited about. If they're not enacted, if they're not put into or codified by a legislature, then we are going to simply return to, and I think, our republic will fall if we do not codify these things. I think we're on the right trajectory, but we've got to stop depending on the president to be the one thinking he's going to save us with a stroke of a pen. They have a job to do and they need to do it. So I want to basically, put that there because so many of the people are so satisfied and so excited about the things that are happening, and we should be, because the right people are being put in the right positions. And I think that's going to certainly make a difference overall. The second part I wanted to start out, since we're quoting scripture here, I wanted to talk about the serenity prayer, because I think it fits perfectly into what we're doing actually in election integrity. And that is, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And there was an elaboration made and said, and the grace to know better in all situations. There went on as an explanation of that. The addition of that is an acknowledgement that humans need for guidance and understanding, especially in difficult situations, and to ask for divine assistance in discerning the right course of action. I think what you've got here is a group of leaders. You are developing leaders, and you have a group leading Michigan Fair Elections, and many of you are leaders of organizations. It is really important that we get through the distractions, number one, the distractions of the MLK files or the, all of the things that are really taking up people's feeds, and begin to focus on the things that really do matter. And secondly, it's really important for each and every one of us to understand that there are a lot of people within our realm that are angry about the 2020 election, for instance. I'm certainly one of them. But I also understand that there has been a lot of neglect on our side that has taken decades to create the problem, and it's not going to be fixed. We know by the courts, it's not going to be fixed. No one's going to be held accountable, likely, which means that we have to change them from the ground up in our conservative, obviously, counties first, and certainly in our state through our legislature when it is able to be done. We know we can't do that while we have a Democratic Senate, while we have Whitmer in office, while we have probably Dana Nessel and certainly Jocelyn Benson, which means the 2026 cycle is a really shoving all our chips into the table and trying to run the table in order for us to be able to change the trajectory of Michigan and make us more like, I'd say, Ohio, more like Florida in the future. But that starts one step at a time. And that's why it's really important for all of us not to focus on the continually awareness of the things that happened in 2020, but working on the fix, if you will, but what we can change now and what we can hopefully change when we get the House and the Senate, when we get a governor that will sign that legislation, and when we get a Secretary of State that will, with all the power we have given them and afforded them now through Proposal 2 and through our own legislature, we need to basically look at both reining that back in, but most importantly, making sure that it's probably one of the most important offices we have in the 26th cycle is the Secretary of State. We have to have an electable candidate who understands the task, who is going to begin to clean up our voter rolls and do all the things you're working on. But the serenity prayer is to remind us again, do not put any energy in things that cannot be accomplished in this next 2 years. We need to put the energy into the things that will help change our trajectory. I know that's the focus in the plan, but as leaders, it's important that we provide that lane, that opportunity. I think the guidance, if you will. And I heard somebody, it was a city manager when I was mayor a decade or two ago, whatever it was, that said planning is half done. And it really is true that when you have a strategy and when you put a plan together and identify people to help lead that strategy, to implement that plan, and then to recruit people who identify and are wanting to help basically accomplish those areas, we've got to do things one step at a time. And we need to focus there and not get distracted by the many things or the individuals that even exist within our own party and within certainly social media and grassroots groups and organizations. I am appreciative of all that they believe and many of the things that they know need to be accomplished. But when I ask them the questions, and this is what I'd encourage you to do, is how would we change that now? The fact is, many of those things we can't until we change other things first. So let's stay on task and on message, and let's remember that prayer as we move forward. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ron. And thank you for, as nonprofit organization, you have put into context with some practical examples of how the process of government works, and clarifying for people and understanding that, when an executive order is passed, that's not all said and done, because that can be changed in a new election cycle, but that we need to codify those changes through the legislative process. And we all can play a part in focusing in on the priorities that you reminded us through the serenity prayer. Change what we can and work on, and not focus on what we can't, but also to understand what is going to be most effective. So, Ron.
And I would say, and I'll finish with one thing, another level of encouragement, if I have another 30 seconds, and that is that there are people both at the national level. I know Patrice is going to be attending a meeting in kind of a national level meeting. I will be there as well. But I want you to know that we have more strategy. We have groups of people. Obviously, we have an administration that is behind us. We have Cleta Mitchell. We have many others that, as you know, and you certainly see things that are happening. We also have tools that we didn't have before. America First Works. There's a lot of those that I think are going to allow it in a better way to connect with them on issues that matter most to them, and to, of course, get more people participating in the process, especially in these off-year elections. And so I think we're entering a different phase. I know that the 26 cycle also will be a completely different animal than 22. The issues are not the same to the people of Michigan or to the country. And we also have, obviously, the examples of what President Trump is doing in waste, fraud, and abuse that we can take as platforms here in Michigan. So we are in a different place. And if it wasn't for you, though, we would not be able to implement or carry this message out to the people in your own communities. And we're going to really need your help. And we thank every one of you.
Thank you, Ron, for those follow-on thoughts. While you were speaking, I was thinking about, and you did mention the SAVE Act, but also we have ranked choice voting and what's coming up in 2026. And we all need to keep our focus on how our conservative values will be translated through different legislation that comes ahead, and that we need to pursue our conservative values in any ways that we can. You mentioned ranked choice voting, and I think we, Jacky mentioned that we already have a presentation in the can through another election integrity national network group that we can present to local communities to help them understand what this really means. We're not preaching and guiding people that, how to vote, but this is a mechanism for voting and the pros and cons and benefits and drawbacks of that. Additionally, we have the SAVE Act coming up, which was introduced by Chip Roy some weeks and months ago. And the SAVE Act is really a nonpartisan bill, HR to a federal bill being presented by the House, which really protects all of citizens, legal citizens' voting rights. We know that that it's intended to stop illegals from registering to vote, and there's significant evidence that illegals have not only been encouraged to register to vote, which puts them at risk. So we have a responsibility to protect those people from putting themselves in harm's way of a felony. But also there's evidence that illegals have not only been encouraged to register to vote, but there's evidence of illegals voting, which dilutes the voting voice of legal citizens. We need to close the loopholes, and the SAVE Act is one step. You mentioned we need SAVE Act Plus, and I agree, but the SAVE Act is the first step. It will require proof of citizenship to register. And being a federal mandated law, once we get this passed, that's my positive, once we get this passed through, will be a way to encourage and develop legislation in our states. So we, MFEI, PIME put out a recent call to action and an information bulletin on the SAVE Act. I encourage everybody on the call to read that bulletin if they haven't already. It gives tangible things that we can do as citizens to encourage our conservative viewpoint and talk to all of our our federal Michigan congressional House representatives to encourage them to support the SAVE Act. We've provided a list of phone numbers and districts for the Michigan House congressional reps who have not yet supported the bill, but also encourage us to thank Representative Molinar and Huizenga, who are supporters of the SAVE Act. Just give them a little bit of kudos and help us move this forward. We don't know when the SAVE Act will be presented on the floor, but we believe it's going to be around the March 31st time schedule. Does anybody else want to chime in on the SAVE Act? I've just given a quick high-level overview.
I will just add in that Speaker Johnson is very well informed and very much behind this getting passed. It already did pass the prior Congress and I believe legislature, and I believe it certainly will again. I also think we had the support with the senators that were in place before. Obviously, we hope to get more broad range support, but I am pretty confident that it will pass the House again at that appropriate time, probably towards the end of this month. So I know Cleta is all over it, as well as there are other leaders that are directly, stacking this up. But it does appear as if we will get that through, and then it's a matter of implementation, as you know.
Thank you, Ron, and thank you for the reminder. Because in the call to action bulletin put out by Pure Integrity Michigan for elections yesterday, there are 2 additional reading links in the bulletin. One is the white paper produced by Mike Johnson, and also the SAVE Act itself. So there's a link for us to read the verbiage of the SAVE Act so that we are able to articulate within our citizen communities and educate our local peeps. So with that, we are 9 minutes short of a full hour. I would like to open up to anybody on the call if there's any other business for the good of the order. Chime in or raise your hand. I don't see any, so
I
Oh,
I'm
thank
sorry.
you. Thank you, Sherry.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Took me a second to unmute.
Okay.
I guess what came to my mind is that I would like to encourage everyone on this call to go on YouTube or the legislature.mi.gov website and look for the recording of the House Election Integrity Committee hearing that was held this past Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. There were two presentations made during that hearing that I won't elaborate now, but one of the presentations was regarding the GBI strategies situation that occurred in the Muskegon area. And the other presentation was made by an organization that is very much focused on NGOs and how they are affecting elections nationally. Absolutely riveting and powerful information was given at that meeting. It's a little bit over an hour video, but I would suggest watching every single minute of it. It was really phenomenal, and you're going to want to see that one. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do see we now have some hands up, so I would like to call on Jean Zott to unmute and make a comment. Jean, if you could unmute, you had your hand up to make a comment on, I believe, any other business.
Did you want me to talk about the article that was posted? I wrote an article this past week and it was posted on your website, or I can wait till next week if you would like that also.
I would love for you to give an overview of that, please.
Okay, so Tuesday, Michigan Fair Elections was kind enough to post an article that I wrote recently about the practice of appointments that has been going on in different communities. And this is appointments at the local level. So school boards, and for elected offices, school boards, county commission, township offices, and also, mayoral, city offices, excuse me, I'm stumbling here. So what's happening is they're using appointments as a strategic way to stack their current board or commission. I was actually involved in one of these situations. I had put my name in to replace Don Brown and as a short-term appointment that we all thought was going to be from January until May. Don Brown stepped down 1 month after being reelected. And this also happened in West Bloomfield Township, where the West Bloomfield Township supervisor, he resigned a couple days after being sworn in, right after he was reelected in November. So then what happens is the trustees in West Bloomfield and the commissioners in Macomb County, they appoint somebody. Except for it's not just for until a special election. They've appointed them to fill a position that used to be a 2-year position used to be a 2-year position to stay in that position for a full 2 years and delay a special election until 2026. So I think this is being done strategically. I think it's used to make sure that the people aren't choosing replacements on commission boards and for township boards. The most egregious example in this article is Clarkston School Board. They had 2 women that ran for school board in 2022, and they beat out an incumbent. So these 2 women came in first and second, and the incumbent came in third. That was November 22. March of 23, a woman that they thought was going to step down but ended up running in the election. She steps down, and the current board, with the exception of the 2 new people, voted in the guy that the people voted out. And to make it worse, they made him president. So this was very strategic, and it was done in order to, not involve the voters. And of course, now he's there, and he'll be there again till the next election. And I just see a pattern with this. I saw it in like I said, West Bloomfield just recently, Clarkston School Board, and Macomb County. It's a dangerous practice because in Macomb County, 12 commissioners that weren't from my district decided who the new county commissioner was going to be. And now this guy's going to have 2 full years to establish incumbency. And we all know how hard it is to beat out somebody that's an incumbent. It's an uphill battle. So I encourage you to read my article. And if you want to talk more about it next week, I can come back. Just let me know. My email address is on the article too. You're free to call me or email me. And thank you.
Jane, thank you so much for that impromptu update. Appreciate you jumping in. We've got 3 minutes and I've got 4 hands up and I don't know whose hand went up first. So I'm just going to quickly run through. Darlene, you had a comment?
No, mine would take too long. Thanks.
Okay. JD?
Yes, I just wanted to say, if anybody has a group that would like a person-to-person biblical decisions class or a constitutional live class, let me know, because I've been to Saginaw County, I've been to Eaton County, and of course Ingham County, and I'd be happy to travel your location. So contact me and I'll be happy to get with you.
Thank you, JD. Keith Hinkle?
Yeah, thanks. It's just in case anybody knows, we have a couple situations where we have evidence that people were somehow or another paid either with money or other things like drugs to cast their votes. And our local law enforcement's not really interested in getting into it. And I'm wondering if anybody knows of whether state, FBI, anybody else that we could go to have them investigate these situations.
Keith, would you put your contact information in the chat so that if anybody can provide any additional guidance or suggestions, they can contact you?
That'd be great. Will do. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Keith. Allison, I've got your hand up.
Just real quick, because I know we're going to do the All-Star. Please nominate. Think about who's integral to your operation and what you do daily. And please nominate them for a Michigan All-Star Award. We would like to give recognition to all of the volunteers that so graciously give of their time and support.
Thank you, Allison. And before I call on Fred, whose hand is up, Patrice, if you could put the announcement in the chat for the All-Star Award, I would be happy to announce that on your behalf. Or if your voice is feeling strong enough and you want to do that, let me know. But in the meantime, while Patrice is gearing up for that, for the All-Star Award recognition, Fred, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. Keith Henkel, the Secretary of State has a division, investigative services. So all criminal action involving election law or elections in Michigan fall under this jurisdiction. Local authorities are rather uninterested in pursuing these types of charges. I also want to mention the 2000 Mules movie documented all of the couriers for these ballots that were stuffed into the boxes, but there were hubs. These NGOs were the backbone of the organization. And by the time 2024 was fully completed, they had kind of morphed away from those groups. So this idea of having a funnel of money coming through to the Democrat machine is gradually being strangled, and we will have fruits from all of our labors collectively when we see this happen. Thank you, Patrice, especially. Dee, thank you again, and Sherry.
Thank you, Fred. Patrice, is your voice feeling strong enough to present our award this week? If you,
I've been drinking the tea and honey like you recommended, and so far I think it's really working. So thank you. Well, yes, it's my absolute pleasure to announce the All-Star Award. This is for Judy Janicic, who is on the call, or she was earlier. Anyway, I nominated her. Jeff Schaefer nominated her, and several other people nominated her. She's the Check My Vote lead in Oakland County. She's been an election worker, and what I've noticed is Judy consistently volunteers. She says what she's going to do, and she does it with grace and expertise. So it's really my pleasure to announce Judy Janicic as the All-Star Award of the Week.
Judy, would you like to respond?
Well, after I recover from my shock, I say thank you. I just feel like I'm doing everything that I can do to try to help get things on the right track here in Michigan. I started with this with Patrice, I think in April of 21. So I have been trying to do what I can since then, but I just appreciate the award and thank you very much. I do have a question though, since I have, if I can ask a quick one of Jean Ott, if she's still on. We read the article that she wrote and we're very, we tried to understand why the people who were elected to those offices stepped down. I mean, I know
it's on purpose.
I know it would be on purpose, but if they were from the same, you know, thinking or party as the boards that they stepped down from, why would they step down?
Well, because if they stepped down prior to the election, then the people would decide who the new supervisor would be, or the new school board would be, or the new county commissioner would be. But if they wait until after the election, now it is decided by themselves. So it's a way to bypass elections and put somebody in that office that they want. And what I'm seeing over and over again, we see this in the state of Michigan. Elected officials start following their own agenda and not the people's agenda. And that's happening here at local levels too. They're following their own agenda, not the people's. And so they don't want any strangers in their new commission, their new school board, their new trustees, or their new boards. They just don't want them. They want to have their own people in there.
Thanks for the explanation.
Can I add on to that, please? So in Macomb County, we had a school board that dropped out after paying a $5,000 campaign finance violation to the county. And she was on the board until about 3 weeks before the end of her term, and after the November election, she resigned her position. She was appointed by the board president to fill a vacancy from the November election, and then was named secretary, and the president and the secretary of the board control the agenda. They have a firm control on anything that can be discussed at the board meetings. We have been active in support of parents and children's rights in the schools for about 5 years now in Chippewa Valley. And we've been stymied repeatedly. They have a self-interest. Selections are not elections. Thank you.
Thank you, all contributors to this week's News at Noon. We've overrun by 5 minutes, but I'm sure that we all appreciate the additional comments at the end. This is a working group, and I'm just so delighted that everybody pitches in with their own perspectives and views, which will help us collectively understand the processes, procedures, and the mechanics of our government and our elections. So with that, thank you all for joining. Have a great another week, and we will see you next week on News at Noon. Thank you all.